What's going on, everyone? Rabid here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Goldshell Firmware. It's going to be a fairly quick video because I have the original firmware that these came with, 2.2.1, and I updated to 2.2.5 to see if it increases performance. I saw a bunch of posts on Reddit there saying, you know, how much of a great improvement over performance that it does have over previous firmwares. Now, I don't know which firmware they're talking about originally, but going from 2.2.1 to 2.2.5 is not worth it. Now, there's a couple things here. We will look at the results of that in a minute. Now, the reasons you should update your firmware. Now, it's never recommended to just go out and update your firmware. Reason number one why you should is that if you're having issues with your miner, if you're experiencing issues, new firmware may fix those issues. Number two, maybe there's a new feature you do want, like a hash rate mode and efficiency mode or something like that. If there's a feature, then do it. And then reason three isn't really recommended, but you just like to stay up to date all the time. So those, I guess, are the reasons why you would want to update your firmware. Now, if you're not experiencing any issues or anything, there's no spectacular features you're looking for, then it's not recommended to do that because you always have the risk of bricking your hardware.
Oh, nice. Hey guys, come here, check this out. I'm getting some miners from Miner Bros. I bet you didn't know this. With Miner Bros, what you see is what you get. The cost of the item is shipping cost to your door, including import fees. That means no hidden fees later on, unlike the other guys which nail you at the checkout. So what are you waiting for? Get your ASICs today. Link is in the description, and code RABID will grant $50 off every individual item. All right, guys, so here we are at my spreadsheet having a look at the old firmware 2.2.1 versus the very latest firmware 2.2.5. And this is also the same version of firmware that the latest KD Box 2 does ship with. We just dropped a video showcasing that new miner, and it's pretty sweet. Anyway, regardless, going back here, so starting with the mini-doge Pro, the old firmware 2.2.1 was averaging for every 24 hours about 210.5 mega hash. Now moving on to the latest firmware 2.2.5, we only seen an increase of a half a mega hash to 211. Now power, old versus new, they're still hanging out both 233 watts at the wall, and because we did get that, you know, half a mega hash here, our efficiency did go up. So in mega hash to watt, we went from 0.9034 on 2.2.1 to 0.9055 on 2.2.5. So nothing major happened with this firmware update. I don't know where all the rumors of this such an increase in performance came from. Maybe it's on the old original miners, but I don't have one. Moving on to the KD Box Pro, on the old firmware 2.2.1, we had a terahash here of 2.64 hash rate. And then on the newest firmware, we had 2.2.5. We went down actually to 2.58 terahash for our hash rate. So we lost a little bit of hash rate there, but we also went down a little bit in the power. So on the old 2.2.1, we were at 232 watts at the wall, and on the latest 2.2.5, we're at 226 watts, and our mega hash to watts. So I did do this in mega hash because it breaks it down to more finer numbers instead of straight terahash to watt. We're at 0.01137 mega hash to watt on the older one, and the latest was 0.01141. So, you know, nothing major going on here. Also, there was no hash rate mode versus low power mode. Nothing changed in terms of within the miner to give you any features that I'm aware of. So it's not worth upgrading to this latest firmware. I don't know where all this extra performance came from. So I'm curious what versions of firmware this may have been happening on. Was it something like 2.2.2 upwards of 2.2.4 or so on? So I don't really know what's going on there, but we're going up to the latest firmware from something like 2.2.1, it didn't really do much of a difference at all. There we go. So just a quick video to let you know if you were on the fence about updating the latest firmware. Probably not. It looks like garbage. Definitely not worth it, and not worth risking the brick of your miner. So thank you for checking this out. I'll see you on the next one. Rabid out.